see on the screen. We got our boy Japan man. He floating in the cold. He's our guy in the chair, and the rest of us in the matrix somewhere. We plugged in. We got Bluish. He lagging. He got the lagging powers. Y'all see him back there. He stopping bullets. And we got our boy Sonke and still told house shoes. Down there and they chilling.
It's some
They
blue pill.
yeah,
The blue pill.
yeah. So we just gonna talk about the Matrix. This is a brief little review video of the Matrix. Our thoughts. I guess how we feel about the franchise as a whole. You know, he's been summoned by Mr. Anderson. No, by Mr. Smith down there. So okay, he'll be back. But
Mrs. Smith.
yeah, he's a Mr. Smith. Everybody, he's going to take somebody out right now. He saw some. Okay, anyway, but yeah. So guys, what are you? We all watched the movie. Let's get general thoughts about the movie as a whole. What do y'all think about this? Did it hurt the franchise? Did it add it, or was it just lukewarm? What are y'all impressions of it? Please, one at a time. One at a time, please.
Because I'm a Matrix fan, so to me the original trilogy is something that is a part of my like childhood to teenage years. I wasn't one of the people who see the Matrix in the movies when it first came out. So my first real experience with the Matrix was the Matrix Reloaded, and that was amazing. That was incredible when I saw that. Like the action was amazing. The storyline itself had so much depth, and the characters were so rich at that point that I really was super invested. And around that same time is when I went back, watched the first Matrix, and the Matrix was happening at the same time, so you get all this
Oh yeah.
extra lore that happens. Plus, on top of that, anime. Who doesn't like anime? And then yeah, Matrix Reloaded, and then after that, you have to wait. I think a year, 6 months or a year to get Revolution.
Yes.
And with that, it was like, all right, that was a good culmination. It it felt a little off, but it's because I never really liked the Matrix for the real world stuff. It was always for things that were happening in the Matrix when they started doing cool stuff, whether it be the action or just like just seeing how they could maneuver in this world of code and computers, basically, like just to kind of like see what weird things a human with his brain on lock can do. And so in the real world itself, when they're just doing wartime in Zion, I was like, all right, it wasn't bad, but I was fine with it. You know what I'm saying? And by the end of it, we did get a epic Dragon Ball Z S fight between
We
Neo and
did.
Smith. Like
Yeah.
flying around, big explosions, rain stopping because the punches were so hard. Like all that went hard to me. So like I still ended off like feeling like that was good, and I thought it wrapped up nicely. And come to find out years later, it's like, oh, okay, this story was actually continued in the MMO, the Matrix Online, and it had its different elements. So all that to say, just to give you a history of why I even enjoy the franchise, like I loved all that. And then we come to this movie, and I remember like our reactions to the trailer itself was like very surprised, just because I don't think we expected this to happen. Like there have been rumors and teases that there might have been another Matrix movie, but to just pop out with a trailer and then like the movie coming out like 3 months later was kind of crazy, like in the
Yeah.
grand span of time, basically. So yeah, the movie itself, I prepared. Like I went back, I rewatched all the movies, and then went directly into Resurrections. And for me, I think that tailored my viewing experience to make sure that I was gonna catch on to all the stuff happening in the first hour of this film, which is pretty much all very self-referential to like what the Matrix stands for, who these characters were. Like we see Neo going through all these different scenes where if you just look for a split second in a mirror, he's a different person. You're like, what is
Yeah.
what's going on? What is this? And so the movie's just playing with you the whole time, and it's like, oh, the he made a game called The Matrix, and it actually is the real Matrix. Like, what is happening? So you just get
Got
mind
another
the whole first hour of the movie, and it's like, what is happening? And
Yeah.
then the second half of the movie is like, because and I think Brando brought this up in our Discord chat one time. It's just like, all right, the first section of the movie is a rescue mission for Neo. The second set of the movie is like a rescue mission for Trinity, and it's like, okay, like I understand now. Like he did wake up and see her, like that's his bae. Like he gonna go get his girl. So like I get
Yeah.
that. But
Mhm.
by the end of the film, after seeing like the callbacks, I mean, Agent Smith being present but not being Hugo Weaving, understanding the dynamics of this new Morpheus and things like that, seeing some of the things that happen in, well, not Zion now, we have Io. It all just set this tone of like, okay, way more has happened in this 60-year span than what is happening in this movie. This movie is literally just about Neo and Trinity and them coming back. But there is so
Yeah.
much extra
Yeah.
lore that they can pull from now
Mhm.
and go back into. It's like at the end of this movie, I wasn't like necessarily so hyped to see what they do in the future. I want them to really flesh out what we just saw. Like,
Okay. Good,
yeah.
good point. So that's how you felt by the end of it, right? You
Hmm.
just what happened in that period, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Blue, did you feel the same way when the credits roll? How did you feel when the movie's over? What's up?
Um, well, I feel sort of similar. I feel like I might be the most lukewarm person here. Out of all of three of them, I do not hate this movie. Um, if IGN, IGN being IGN said it was trash, it was garbage. I can't agree with that. That it is not garbage. But I do think it's a little lukewarm for me personally. And I'm someone who's a tad bit new to it. I'd always seen the first
Really?
Matrix, like that's a classic. I've already seen that. I just never seen the sequels.
Really?
And so
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so I went before this movie and I watched the sequels. I love them. I think the trilogy is great. Um,
I will say
however,
they age a lot better together.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, like if you watch them back to back to back, I'm like, oh, this is a
yeah,
really good
exactly.
complete story. Yeah.
Exactly. I fully agree, and I really do like it for that reason. This movie to me, it felt like the first half of it, while yes, it was a Neo rescue mission, to me it felt like call back the movie. It's like we're just gonna keep showing you, and we're gonna have all of these. Hey, you remember that? Remember that? Remember that? Remember this? How about that? And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I get why they do it, and I get why in the storyline they decided to do it. But there's like so much of it where it's like this really just makes me want to watch the original. It makes me want to go watch Revolutions and Reloaded. Like I don't. My thing is like after each Matrix movie, I loved each of them because it was like, what's next? I
Hmm.
remember that jump between Reloaded and Revolutions, where it was like, hold on, the architect here is saying there is no such thing as choice. You're gonna make one choice or another, and it's just gonna happen the same way. We're gonna redo this. I was like, oh snap! Like, what's next? I feel like at the end of this movie, I'm like, I see the potential for it, but I don't. There's no excitement or there's nothing there that's like, oh yeah, I need to see what's next. There's nothing that's kind of enticing me because even with the architect's character in this, he
Yeah.
kind of got whooped up. Like he got his hands, he got the
What
hands
the
given to him.
analyst? The analyst?
Yeah, the analyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the analyst. I guess he was standing in for the architect, but he's not really the
Yeah.
architect.
Different. It
But
was a
Yeah.
different program, but yeah,
yeah,
basically
exactly.
he was the designer of this version of the Matrix.
Exactly. And it's like we
Okay.
in the movie with Trinity kicking the man's chin off, and I'm like,
Yo, that was crazy.
Yeah.
he was the
Yeah.
he's the new architect.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like
basically.
I
So,
don't yeah, so
uh,
like I don't like I said, I don't hate this movie and I
okay.
don't think it's bad.
Okay.
I will say not having Hugo really hurts. Like he's as Smith, he's great. He's
We'll
cool as
get on
Smith,
that.
but Hugo is just
Yeah.
different.
We,
Hugo
we'll,
is different.
There are
I
some
want to
examples.
highlight that. I want to highlight that too, Blue, because yeah, a lot of things were missing. But
Yeah.
so what about you? Still toe house shoes, aka R dot, aka.
AKA. I was
What's your impression, man? The credits roll and they had that Rage Against the Machine, not Rage Against the Machine music playing. Um, you felt that too. I felt that too. I was like, that
Exactly.
ain't my boys. That ain't my boy. How did you feel about it, man? How did it leave you
so,
feeling?
so along those same kind of lines. I don't. So I might have to do my own kind of deep dive on my
Mhm.
personal self on is it just because I had a certain expectation with all the stuff they introduced. So I don't know if because of the original trilogy, when the Matrix would introduce all these different kind of moments or scenes, they capitalize on it or hit you with a punch at some point with it. Like it really comes together. Like, oh, are you really
Yeah.
appreciate it? So even like with how even Blue kind of mentioned a lot of the hints and stuff, even that first hour of the movie, they bring all the stuff to you. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
because I was psychologically waiting for another punch or for them to tie it all together, or if it's just gonna end up being I'm gonna tease you, I'm gonna just remind you, here's a recap kind of thing.
Mhm.
Even
Yeah.
likewise with how they did all that, then kind of did spin with it, and it kind of hit you with one kind of twist, like okay, it's kind of cool. But I feel like the tone still at the end though was like it was an impactful conclusion, and
Yeah.
then it's also kind of like this is almost just like a fanfare movie, not like hey, we'll give you another whole wonderful piece of something, and which
Mm.
also kind of left me where it was like okay, so even more so, I don't know if I'm supposed to address the emotions I had earlier, or address the expectations I had the first hour while y'all doing all this different stuff, or what.
Hmm.
And on top of the fact, I still don't know what's going to happen next. So I don't know if I even should have those expectations again that you're going to come with
Yeah.
back with something good, or if I should just leave it be and like really hope they don't touch this movie again. Like, so I don't know. I at least have an actual definitive answer. It wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a bad watch, but it was very close to like very being very lukewarmish,
Yeah.
especially even with the if you can't appreciate all the different stuff they did as far as the overall delivery, I feel like there was some kind of missing pieces and or it just didn't stand as firm as the original three to me,
Mm.
and that kind of hurts.
Yeah. Oh, it hurts, man. It hurt.
Yeah,
It
that
it,
nigga's in
it,
pain.
it did kind of hurt a little bit. I can understand that. Yeah, it could hurt a
I
little
like the
bit.
three, man. Like all of us, like I like the original. It's good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
All
want to talk about it a little later, but I'm gonna let Sonke go first. But I do think there's a reason for all of this at the end of the day.
Yeah, so Sonke, look, y'all know this guy. Tell me if I'm wrong. Y'all can leave in the comments too if y'all think. Tell me this dude would not kill a Neo cosplay. Like, don't smile. Just look straight. Don't smile, bro. That, you even got the computer glow on you right now, but put a green screen. You have, bro. There you go.
I'm gonna buy you a trench and
But get you a
shoes.
trench, bro. You the one.
You
Bruh,
you are the one.
you are the one. Wait, Ardat. He's starting to believe.
He's starting to believe.
What you think, man? How you felt about this, bro?
You muted.
Oh
Turn that
yeah,
mic on,
definitely.
bro. Mr. Smith trying to mute you, bro.
You getting
Yeah.
muted.
Bruh.
Oh,
There
there
we
you
go.
go. There you go.
Anyway,
There you go. There
His mouth
so
was doing that thing when
so for me, I originally wasn't really interested in this movie, but my better half was like, come on, let's do it. So we watched the original trilogy, and I agree with Japan Man that that's kind of like a prerequisite. Like you need to watch the original trilogy prior to watching this movie because that really helped me understand, really helped me remind me of everything, all the lore going into this. Because honestly, I really feel like this movie was made in the sense that you needed to understand the lore. If you didn't understand the lore, while it's a tolerable movie, it makes it so much more better if you understand the lore and what's going on. And by the end of the film, uh, I honestly really didn't care where they went with it. I think there was because of the issues behind the scenes, because Japan Man kind of alluded to this, and we'll probably touch on this a little bit more. There was a lot of things going on behind the scenes, um, and I think Lily kind of didn't, or not Lily, Lana, uh, kind of wasn't intending to really want to make another trilogy and
Actually,
didn't know how she wanted to kind of really end it. So she kind of ended it, but didn't want to end it. It was just this weirdest thing. And I ending is like one of my only gripes with the movie. I love the entire movie. I don't like the ending. I think it's
from
just
what point,
weird.
if I can ask you,
What?
like from was it from like
When does the ending start?
because I
The
think there's
actual ending where Neo and Trinity go and talk to the
to
architect.
the analyst. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
so I'm like, from that point forward, it was just weird,
Mm.
and it didn't fit with the rest of the tone or direction of the rest of the movie. It just felt like we got to end this, so whew, and I
They
was
have
just
to
like,
fly at the end.
yeah, and I was just like, it kind of because the rest of the movie to me felt like a natural fit to the rest of the trilogy. And I think that's where a lot of people went wrong with this movie. They were expecting to do what the original movie did, which is just break barriers and set new standards and just do an all-time new thing. And that's not what it was for. It was meant to continue the story, and that's it. It wasn't
Yeah.
meant to set a new standard, do new. Wasn't meant to do new. And I feel like if that was the case, you should have just ended it like you did the first one, which is kind of somewhat on a
Under the
cliffhanger,
unsolved,
It's
like
on
like
an
cryptic
unsolved.
almost. Like yeah,
Cryptic.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a,
Because I mean, you
it's
open the
something
movie
there,
like
but
the
you don't really
original.
know what.
Yeah, because you open the movie like the original, so why not just end it like the original and just leave it be? You can still have Neo and Trinity fly off, but have them do the same thing that they did in the original, and instead of Neo saying something, have Trinity do the voice line or whatnot. But
Yeah.
overall, I think I agree with Japan Man. I would be more interested in be involved of what happened during this 60-year span. How did Zion fall? Like,
yeah,
how did IO get started? When did this boy? I want to see the Machine Civil War, fam.
Yeah,
Like, bro,
bro.
I
yeah,
want to see that.
yeah,
Like, I would
yeah.
love to see that.
That
Like,
was very
that's like,
cool.
Or
like,
imagine playing
bro.
that because with the Unreal engine
Tech
demo,
demo.
like
Yeah,
that showed off a ton. And even that one was kind of meta too, with like they had like a little small storyline that was attached to that.
yeah,
And I
Mhm.
thought that was just like for marketing purposes, but then like later on I found out, oh no, okay, so Lana had a hand in writing that script, and it kind of plays on that meta commentary that the actual movie does. But regardless, that game,
Yeah.
I mean, well, tech demo basically shows potential for any style of game that they could do
Yeah.
within this universe can be on a epic scale. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate love Into the Matrix, but like
Uh,
this could be something completely different if they actually do a game based off
yeah.
any of these set pieces now.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
and
in either case, I agree though overall. I would like to see the lore, and that I do agree Hugo Weaving missing is like one of the biggest hurts for this game,
Yeah.
this movie. Because while this cast does do more or less what they did before, there was no standout person. Like it was just
yeah,
Yeah.
like Hugo. I
it
honestly Hugo Weaving carried the original trilogy bar
Ooh,
none.
true.
man, I say
I
He
I
had
thought it was
charisma, but
I thought it was Lawrence Fishburne
everyone
that was.
stood out. Oh, go ahead,
I
Brandon.
thought Morpheus. I thought
Well,
Lawrence Fishburne was really
yeah.
I
missing,
think he was a nice
and
yin and yang thing going on with those two, but them choosing to
yeah,
remove Lawrence Fishburne or him not
yeah.
choosing to come back, whatever the case may be.
Were you disappointed with this version of Morpheus though?
Yes, I think honestly it could have been anybody. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
they
I
chose
kind of
the
feel
name
you on it. Yeah.
Morpheus
Yeah.
just
He
because
Yep.
they wanted to have a familiar name and face that like
They shouldn't have
Morpheus
done.
had to be in it. Like
Yeah,
there's just no version in their minds where
Well,
Morpheus
he's his mentor.
his
He taught
character
Neo how to become Neo. So
Yeah, his
yeah.
character literally could have been called anything else, and it wouldn't have changed the story whatsoever.
yeah.
That's true. And I guess before we can, because then we can just shoot this off. I'll just say my quick thoughts real quick. They
yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. They real quick. I didn't think this was a horrible movie. Like IGN gave this a 4. I don't think it was bad.
No, not at
Um,
all.
but it did feel like a side quest. It felt like DLC. It felt like something that was a little extra. It was like I said in our chats. It just felt like a Trinity and Neo rescue mission, and we got them back, and that was it. But within that little span, we did get some chunks of cool lore, like the Civil War with the machines. We got the machines that are that are okay with humans. They take on the form of animals
Call
almost.
him sentience or something like
The
that.
sentience, the
Yeah.
sentience, right? That was cool. But then you got just different things. We see that Trinity is doing the things that the one could do. Um, yeah, but it felt like I wasn't looking for the impact of the original trilogies because how can you recapture that? That was lightning in a bottle. But at the same time, the themes, I guess that's what I feel like was really lacking with this movie is the themes because we know with the original trilogy, yeah, what was going on, but it had like a what's the word I'm looking for, guys? It was like a narrative underneath it that was kind of like anti-capitalism,
Like
individualism, you
subtext.
They
know,
described it in this movie. It was like it's
yeah,
anti.
yeah,
Yeah,
free your mind, and
yeah, yeah,
right, all those different things, and that stuff was cool, man. Like
yeah.
at the end of the movie, the first movie, when you didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect, but when he looked up and flew, I was like, "What?" It was dope. And that carried on to the sequels. But this one, it just a lot of it took place in the same universe, but it didn't really feel like the Matrix to me. I'll be honest. It felt like I don't know what it felt like, y'all. It just didn't feel like the Matrix, even from the filmography standpoint, from the colors
Yeah.
used. Like you
Yeah,
can look at
everything was bright. Like there was no
everything was
green
bright, it
screen.
was colorful, and that's cool. But even like the tones were missing. I didn't feel a threat, like you guys mentioned. Hugo Weaving's agent, I mean not agent. I keep calling him agent. Mr. Smith. Uh, he was missing like an antagonist. Barney from How I Met Your Mother was not intimidating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when he did the bullet time thing, you know. But
Just
yeah,
threw out the window for no reason.
yeah. So my thoughts is like Remy. Still the way too many names are that.
AKA.
It's the same thing. It's kind of lukewarm. It was okay. It was all right, but yeah, I kind of like Japan man mentioned. I want to chew on what they gave us because they sort of just say, look at this, it's cool." Next point, and it's like, "Oh, all right," you know. So what's up,
So
Blue?
Yeah,
oh,
that's probably my two. I think my two biggest issues, like you said, was there's no real like villainous protagonist. Because if you remember in the first one, while they're main villains, yes, we all know them agents went hard. It don't matter what agent it was. All of them was a threat when they stepped on that screen.
Yeah,
The agents in here, I'm like, all right, you did a little something, but I'm not scared of y'all.
yeah, yeah,
And then of course, Hugo not being there and like the stand-in for Hugo, even he didn't really feel like as much of a threat to me. So that was one big thing. And then I guess my other big issue is that what's crazy about this movie is I love a lot of the concepts and things that are introduced here. I just don't necessarily like how it's used in the movie. I like how it's introduced and I like the ideas of it. So like even with Trinity becoming the one, like the original Matrix, the architect was like, it's built around you, Neo. Like your experience is kind of what kind of short sort of shapes the Matrix and is always our anomaly. It's you. And so now that the Matrix is sort of built on this relationship between Neo and Trinity, it makes sense to me why Trinity would also have powers of the one. Um, of course they kind of ignore the fact that Neo could do stuff in the real world. They haven't said anything about that, so I don't know how
yeah,
that's going to play into the story. But I do like that angle. I like the fact that things I like some of the meta-ness of it. I don't hate all of it. It's just I feel like it got to a point where it was so much
it was
that
too on the nose.
yeah, it
Yeah.
became too much. So there's a lot of things that I do like about this movie. It's just I want to see where they go with it. Like what you were bringing up with the machine war, the lore, all of that. It's great. We just don't know anything about it, so I can't latch on to something right now.
Yeah,
Japan man.
I
Go,
didn't think
go,
his
go.
I didn't think bluish background was gonna play any part in this, but like you see how cool like that whole concept was of him even doing that. One of my biggest gripes, or one of the things that actually hit me during the movie, and I couldn't shake it off while I kept watching it, was how Neo kept spamming that whole energy throughout the whole movie, and it kept kind of like bothering me. So I was like, even more so like you're that guy, and this is the point where like we kind of fast track you to having back to being that guy. But you were not. You kept spamming this thing. It was just weird. So like them even bring all that back. It was like that's not cool, and it wasn't doing nothing. And it's not like the
Yeah,
same power like from the original. Like, it didn't make sense to me. So I was like, all right, I was a roll. So that definitely threw me off too. Like I really didn't know what to expect.
yeah. Like when he tried to take off and fly and couldn't, I was like, "Come on, guys,
That was
what are you
goofy.
doing?"
Yeah.
And yeah,
There was
still
a lot
talking
of
about a
goofiness in
good
this
point.
movie actually. So yeah.
Yeah, still to bring up a good point though. The cool factor, like him and Trinity took out a lot of dudes like that was in this restaurant at the beginning of the first movie. You know, really before Neo even started to believe he was the one. So it was like, why y'all have so much trouble? But let me ask you this, Japan man,
He didn't
because
fight
you
nobody.
played the MMO.
I didn't really play it, but I've like watched all the story cutscenes. I like kept up with the lore of the MMO.
What did any of that play a part in this movie? Because I never touched any of that stuff.
So they took some of the narrative storylines that they did in the MMO and adapted it for this movie. So in the MMO, there were like rogue like agents or something happened in the Matrix where like people would get those little black glitch Cody eyes almost, and they would be taking over and they would be super aggressive like towards the player. So that's the thing that they pulled from
Okay.
Morpheus after the end of Revolutions kind of kept preaching that Neo would come back in some type of form or fashion. He never stopped believing that. And eventually in the game, he winds up getting killed. And then like later on, a fake version of Morpheus comes back. So they kind of took, I think, some elements of that where the real Morpheus, of course, is dead in this movie because it's 60 years later, everyone's kind of aged out. But then at the same time, you have this younger program version of him that comes back and still portrays him. Um, so those are some of the main things that I think. Oh, and like so people basically who worship Neo. So you have like these sections of people
Okay.
who are Neo Knights or some type of way they describe it, but it's like a religion that follows their belief in the one. So yeah, and I think in the game like there were different archetype like classes of characters, and you can choose like your background, like whether you were kind of on the religious side of things, whether you want to be an agent, whether you want to be like with the machines. And then there was like this hidden group called the Oligarchs. And apparently you find out they were humans who never got plugged into the Matrix and lived somewhere separately. They were like wealthy enough or rich enough before the Matrix was created to have some type of autonomy from everything. So yeah, that was interesting. I was gonna see if they were gonna actually bring that up, and I don't know if maybe in the future they may reference that. It's funny because the Matrix Online is like the only MMO that I know of that actually had an ending, where like, and the ending of the game was basically like it was crashing, so everybody got like God mode powers, and then like if you got KO'd, like that was it, you were done, you got logged out the server, and the game. That's how the
That's
game pretty
dope.
much ended.
It's crazy.
Wow.
That's
Um,
dope.
yeah, but I
That's
mean,
dope. That's cool.
Hey,
yeah,
you
but
know, that could fit into like the overall story with the fact that they got a new program making and designing the Matrix.
mhm.
So it's like imagine if the old program was like, yeah, this is us phasing you out so we
Yeah,
can get this new one in here.
yeah,
That's kind of
basically like
hard.
the end of that version of the Matrix, yeah, is like everybody deleting
Yeah,
themselves.
it's kind of dope. I like
Yeah.
that.
I will say that there was. I just gotta say it. Jada Pinkett Smith was horrible in this movie.
Oh
Damn,
I'm
man,
just gonna come out and say
man,
it.
I thought about that.
Niobe,
my
she
wife
could
does the
not play an
same thing.
old woman.
My
She
wife
was
does
like,
the same.
oh, she was walking fun. I'm like,
I
stop it.
didn't think I'd see you ever again.
Yeah,
You
her
you wasn't
out,
entangled, dog. You wasn't entangled with her performance.
bro. That was terrible, bro. Maybe she wasn't so busy talking about her husband in public. Maybe she couldn't remember how to act.
She,
Mm.
I think she brought him up somehow too.
All right. She said there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
There you go. There goes the silky, the smooth,
Mm.
the smooth guy.
Silky
We
The,
call him
smooth.
Silk Knuckles. He not Silk Sonic, he's Silk Knuckles.
The knuckles.
yeah, Marco Polo's first disciple. Oh, for everybody. He's
I will
getting
say overall, like, so I think there's a deeper, darker side to this movie where it doesn't necessarily belong to. I guess when you really think about this franchise as a whole, it, as y'all mentioned, Matrix is cool. Like we look forward to every Matrix for the cool factor. It's got to be action scenes. It's got to be overhyped car chases. Like it has to keep improving on this type of stuff, and like it has these monumental moments
It
in the
gotta
first
have
three.
hands.
And
It,
what
it
y'all
has to have that.
Negroes
they
talking
have hands.
We talking about resurrections, dog. But yeah, I think this one behind the scenes, it sounds like WB straight up said, "Yo, we're gonna make another Matrix movie. Y'all want to do this or not? Like, we're gonna do it
Y'all got
regardless."
90 days. What's
Listen,
good?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no. The thing about it that's
That's
savage about that,
crazy.
is that
I'm not worried.
Lily actually was like, or
they
not
know
Lily,
now.
I want to say
You want to
Lana
show your face?
actually was like, I'm gonna put that in the movie because that whole
yeah,
scene between Neo and his boss was like, "We're gonna make another sequel with or without you." You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's gonna happen. And the whole scene where they're trying to figure out how to make another sequel, that's all real. Like WB has been trying to make a sequel for years, and they could never land on what would make another sequel. And so Lana put that all in the movie. So I think this is just so happened. It's a result of, you know, the fact that Lana was just in a place in her life where she even said, like, it's just I was in a place in my life where I just needed to be around people I knew. And I think, they started brainstorming and wanted to make another sequel, and so they just did, and we see the result. The thing
Yeah.
about that's crazy is that even though it's kind of, on that foundation, like the movie itself to me kind of fits really nicely with the trilogy as a little side DLC, like Brando Zilla brought out. Like it works really well with the lore, it brings it out very nicely.
And that's the thing where the meta stuff that kind of how Lewis was saying was a little too much. I actually appreciated it a lot more because I understood that it meant more than what exactly it was for. But at the same time, it didn't overwhelm me in the sense that I was like, oh, dude, this is way too much. I was like, every point they tried to make made sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, though, it was like, all right,
Oh, is it on mute?
even if we get to the end of this movie, are they still trying to do more Matrix movies? Like,
No, up
Yeah.
to this point, they're not gonna do another sequel right now.
okay.
There's no green light right now. They're kind of gonna. I think
It's on YouTube.
see how it does. They know the reception is not good, so they're kind of waiting to see what's gonna happen. I think the producers want to go ahead and just make another sequel, but I don't think it's in the cards right now. So
So that's my only fear because it's like I don't want them to force this to become an annual franchise. It does not need to be. Like it ended. We had an ending and it was left kind of open, but it was that. It was an ending. And this one provides kind of another ending. And it's like cuz like, you know, it's kind of like okay, this is a matrix of love. As long as you have Neo and Trinity together, they can kind of make it cuz it don't sound like the people it's like literally like people who want to just stay in the matrix. Like they kind of reference that like these people like being in here. They don't necessarily
Yeah.
want to be free.
They don't
So it
wanna
doesn't
leave.
sound like the premise of the real world stuff is necessarily to set everybody free anymore. Like that's not their war. And it sounds like with the machines, like they, as the architect said and Reloaded, they were willing to stoop to different levels, like deeper levels of trying to survive, basically. And in this movie, we kind of get hints of okay, well they had to fight because there wasn't enough power for all the machines to even
No,
like
that's
really
not
stay
business.
around. So
It's our business.
I don't know. I'm not mad at how they ended it off, but I don't necessarily want this to become like
Are you
sequel where I
joking?
just like just keep pumping them out. Like that's not necessary.
Yeah.
Deal with teenagers right here.
And I do think from an action standpoint, like again, it's one of those things
No, I got
where
fixed eyebrows.
this movie was meant to be more cerebral because of all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes. Plus, I don't think they wanted to tackle the challenge of how do we make a franchise that's older than 20 plus years at this point become more relevant from an action and become the new action piece standard. Like, I don't think that was the goal of it.
Well, that's the thing though, man. I'll be honest. I'm kind of with these, man. Cause think about it. We from that era where YouTube was starting, and y'all know we had the stick figures fight each other on Armor Game. We had for the real OGs. Y'all remember Dead Fantasy? Y'all remember Dead Fantasy? Y'all remember Dead Fantasy? I remember Dead Fantasy. Bruh,
but that Monty
Matrix.
Ohm, but
I know, bro. We old, bro. We old, bro. Look, you look at that stuff, and in my mind, I'm like, yo, if they ever make another Matrix movie, this was gonna be like. Like it's gonna be like. And I didn't have that expectation. But in the back of my head, I was like, man, we've seen so many other things do so much cooler stuff. Like this, like anything in this movie didn't wow me. I didn't feel like, yo, I
The
didn't do that.
action style going through the door stuff was kind of cool at first, but then like it just became like normal, and I was like, okay, all right.
I will say actually that was different for me because like I actually really there was a lot of I don't know, for me from an intellectual standpoint this movie like hits hard. Like it doesn't go anywhere as far as like actiony, and I get that. But from an intellectual standpoint, like for me and like to really sit down and understand their own lore enough to really make this movie blend in very well. Like I really like that. Like I really picked up on all the little sub things. I understand why Smith is even still here. I
Yeah.
understand why Trinity is able to become the one. And all that good jazz. So to like kind of really work that together, man. I really thoroughly enjoyed that from an intellectual.
From the
I get
cerebral
that.
side,
Somebody,
I really liked
can
it too.
somebody explain that to me though? I never understood. I didn't pick it up. I didn't
But
understand where did Trinity get her ability.
so the thing about it is that the one is an actual program. So
Right.
whenever they found the person who they considered to be the one, they would take it to the Oracle. Remember, the Oracle originally worked with the machines. So when they found who they believed to be the one, the one power would be a power program that would be adhered to that person.
Mhm.
So it was adhered to whoever they found. In this case, for our story, it was Neo, right? So he gained the powers of it, the one and everything. Now, the program, what it's supposed to do when it's working, is supposed to cause that person to have a deep love for humanity, so that when they are brought to the architect, they'll choose to save humanity over whatever personal other decision they have to
Yeah,
do.
they'll reinsert themselves into the
Yeah,
prime program.
exactly. And go back to the source and start the whole loop over again.
Mhm.
However, like they even brought out in was it Revolutions, programs and stuff break down. So
Hmm.
for whatever reason, the program when the one program was applied to Neo, something went wrong. So Neo started doing things as the one originally wasn't supposed to do. His
Yeah,
program bonded to Smith. So Smith, as the
Right.
Oracle brought out, is his yin, his yang. So
yeah,
Smith will
Mhm.
always exist so long as the one program is still active. But as a result, the program defective and made Neo have a deep love not for humanity, but for Trinity and Trinity alone. So the program is bonded to Trinity as well.
Okay.
Now, the original trilogy doesn't explore the idea of Trinity gaining those powers,
right.
but the fact that the one program had bonded itself, these two together, the new architect when he came in, he's like, I can use this.
Yeah,
So
that's why
then
they kept their bodies. Yeah,
he explores that and tries to rebuild that, and as a
Okay.
result, you know, the Trinity gains the power of the one because she
yeah,
also is connected to the one by that defect. He basically the architect basically takes advantage of the
yeah.
glitch.
He realized that humans staying inside of the matrix they produced a lot more energy based off
Yeah.
emotion. And again, the whole
Yeah.
thing was like they needed more power to power the machine cities. So
Yeah.
this version of the Matrix allowed, because it was based off the chemistry and love between Neo and Trinity, even though they couldn't be together, it caused so much frenetic energy for everybody else that they got way more energy out of it. So it still is a system of control that never changed, but it just was he
Different.
just was smarter than the architect. Like, he tried a different path.
Oh,
Yeah.
they watched Monsters Inc.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Because that was. I mean, it was interesting. I wasn't mad at it. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I couldn't put it together while I was watching it because first I was thinking, well, this is a new Matrix. It's not the same Matrix that we saw in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it was or not because I know everybody in that Matrix they saw the sky turn into a rainbow, and everyone else remembers. At least I would think everyone remembers becoming Smith. Like he took everyone over. That's why the whole city was full of them. So I'm like, okay, so everyone woke up to the fact that they were in the Matrix at that point. At least that's what I thought happened.
And you could
But
wipe they showed like in the animatrix you can wipe people's memories.
Yeah.
Like you
no,
can
it did do
yeah,
that. Yeah. So
yeah.
So their
yeah.
memories were wiped on the reset, and
And this is 60 years later. They've grown new humans at this point. It's a whole different set
yeah,
of folk probably. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but it was alright. I mean, it was alright. I mean, I'm not gonna watch it again to be honest. I'll tell you that. I'll watch the original trilogy again, but
Yeah.
this one,
I
this
see how
one,
Drew feel about it, but he falling asleep already,
So what you
man.
think? And he's not
oh,
He said, "I
man.
ain't got words for the Matrix."
The story was good. I think they did a good way of explaining it, but I guess I agree. I think the action could have been a little bit more matrixy, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
But it is what it is. I just want, for me, I came in, I just want to see why did they make this? What was the plot?
Exactly.
So the
What's
plot
the point?
fulfilled it for
What's the
me,
point?
and
Yeah.
I'm okay. They don't need to make any more. I'm good
Nope.
with that. I'm good. I'm good with that. And end it like that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's.
It felt like
I'm
closure for
completely
Neo and
okay.
Trinity. Like they aged out. I don't want to see them be the heroes no more. And I think
Yeah.
that's weird because and as a kid, it's ingrained because you had 3 movies of them being the sickest characters, like back to back to back, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they old now, like.
And then
Yeah,
too,
they
you got
old.
some of like I said, now you got some of the machines like on the
Yeah.
good side. You know, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I
I'm
want
good with
I want an
everything.
Animatrix 2, and I want that Animatrix 2 to explain what happened during that 60-year time frame, and I want it to be animated out. Like I want it to go hard. I want them to really try and flesh that
You
out because
want
I think
vision.
huh?
You want visions.
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
really want them to
Matrix
like
Visions.
You got
You're
this.
right.
freaky
The
deaky
Matrix
weird with it.
edition.
I mean, but like you said, Japan, man, I really do feel like The Matrix is one of those franchises that you can build, like Star Wars. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
build multiple things. They don't have to be the same thing, but to explore the universe, the lore. I still think you can. But like you said, Trinity, Morpheus, and Neo, I love
Let
those
them go.
guys.
You gotta let
I
them
think
go.
they're done though. I
You
think,
gotta let them go. Yeah.
yeah, but I think it's not. Even with this movie, it doesn't end on a sour note, like
No,
some
no,
other
they had a good
characters,
go off. Yeah.
like Luke Skywalker. you know, I'm fine, and I feel like the fans are fine. So yeah, if they wanted to explore the Matrix, maybe, maybe make Will Smith the one because he screwed
Oh,
up the first
you
time.
finally.
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah.
if they
Make
make
him
Will
be-
Smith Old Man 1 and Jada is gone in his universe or something,
Oh my
that's gonna be
gosh.
so
I
weird.
don't want to see that. That's stupid.
I know it was a joke, but I don't
No,
want to see it
They don't
You'd
need no more
make
story.
anymore.
They need to
there
wait,
needs to be no
wait,
more.
you'd make
No,
August Alsina Mr. Smith.
yeah,
Oh my
give me
gosh.
Mr.
Jada
Agent
coming
That,
Smith.
in.
that's too many. That's too
Jaden
many
and Willow
story
come in.
entanglements right there. That's too many story
Like,
entanglements.
It'll be After Earth 2, The Matrix.
oh
my
my
goodness.
god! And you'll have his son in there.
Hello.
Uh, yeah, what's his name? Not Willow.
Oh,
Whatever.
Jaden.
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 Jaden, and he'd be like, How can this world be real if our eyes aren't real?" You know. Yeah, man. Matrix. I give it like a C, man. It was all right. It was all right. I wasn't mad. I've definitely seen worse movies. Um, yeah, it's all right. What y'all think? Final words before we can get on some more. What's up, bro?
I give it a B.
E? I can see that. Yeah.
I'm with that B, man. I think it took some real guts for them to reference be so self-referential, but in a way that kind of like makes fun of the trilogy, but then at the same time like has all these meta points about why it was even created in the first place, and then be like a social commentary on like y'all are forcing us to basically make this movie that we really kind of don't want to make, but since we do have to make it, we're gonna talk about y'all. Like I liked all of that. Like it's just freaky how they did it, and to see them go do it for so long. But then too, yeah, like it didn't have the most action packed stuff. The fact that this came out the same month as Spider Man, and we know how we feel about Spider Man, it didn't even hit any emotional highs or any emotional lows like that I was feeling may have been presented here. I'm not mad at like the Smith Neo fight. I thought the Merovingian presenting himself as an exile was kind of goofy. Like, simple stuff like that was like
Yeah.
all these extra callbacks kind of sort of are okay, but
That didn't fit the tone at all. He
yeah,
was just
yeah, it just was
funky.
like it got a little excessive in some parts, and then yeah, I think we just were super hyped about the trailer, seeing Neo be Neo in the trailer, but then it subverts your expectations because it's like he not that far no more, and that's not
Why
his
do
fault
they keep
either.
doing this though? Why do they
Yo,
keep
in the
doing
trailer,
this?
like they show you the ending, like he throws the missile into the helicopter. I'm thinking he doing that the whole movie. Let's go, and like no,
Whole movie doing this.
that's literally the ending.
That's it.
Yeah.
Trinity's
Like
back.
that's a whole
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
He
It's
got
not one hand.
that's
It's
the
not
old
Yeah, it's
man
not
body.
one hand.
Got
It's like oh, I gotta
the
stop
old
before you.
man body.
Yeah, he
That's
got an
the
old
old
man
man
body.
body. That's why.
It was old man body. But how he moving like that in John Wick? He got hands.
Cause them different
Because he's
universes.
John Wick. He's a man of focus.
He's John
He's a
Wick.
man of focus.
That's different. That's
He's
different.
a man.
He's a man of focus.
Baba Yaga.
He's a Baba Yaga.
And you know he can do it because like on chapter 4 coming out. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Baba
That's a
Yaga,
different
man.
Keanu right there. That's
Yeah, that's nothing.
We talk about him later.
That's why he didn't change his hairstyle because he wanted y'all to remember.
Yeah, he keep.
Yeah,
That's,
that's it.
that's what connects the universes, though. That's what connects the universes. But yeah, I give it a B plus. I was
Yeah, I give it a
very,
B.
very
It's a straight B.
yeah.
All right. Blue, steel toe. What's up?
Blue, hold on, Blue.
What do you think?
Would you rather watch Matrix or would you rather
God,
watch
not the
Eternals?
Ah, man, that's not fair. Matrix.
Okay.
I ain't watch Eternals yet.
Yeah, me either. I ain't watched it either.
What's your score?
Shoot. You know, messed up my whole dang score now. Hey man, Eternal is a disappointment. I'll stand on that. I'll give it.
So
I'll go
Eternals
be
was the E for effort.
no,
Oh, dang.
no,
E for
no,
Eternals.
no. For Eternals,
Yeah,
exactly.
Eternals.
That's about it.
Uh,
I'll go B minus for it because I do, like I said, I don't hate this movie and I don't think it's mid. Because I do think it. Honestly, I was gonna give this a C plus, and then I had to think about where I would put Eternals. I'm like, shoot, I'd bump it up a little bit. I gotta bump it up a little bit.
Yo, low key, that's why I asked that, to be honest, because that's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm battling with.
Yeah, because it's not Eternals. I'm sorry, but I gotta go. I'll go B minus because I do think this is a solid movie.
I'll stick to my guns. I'll keep it a C. I mean, I want to say C plus, but without me thinking about my feelings, I say C plus.
C plus.
It's still C.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna bump it up, but you know, I'm gonna hang out with my blood steel toe. I stick with. I stick with. I mean, I don't think that's bad. It's just okay. I mean,
that's like okay. That's
We
like
got hours of debates for Marvel movies, and we know what a B means.
yeah,
not-
exactly.
it's not B, man.
Yeah,
talking about this is
Ain't no Marvel
saying-
movie
You might be right.
what do we
It-
give?
it-
What do we
it-
give?
Y'all
not
had
up there
the
with
most
those three movies.
middest of reactions this whole time talking about it.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
y'all easily gave it a B something. Nah.
Well, he
I
y'all.
wasn't there, dog.
Y'all saying
Boy,
C,
bro, no
C
printer.
is like you got it on TV, but you really in the kitchen cooking.
Well, yeah, this is this movie though. This
Man,
is this
stop.
movie.
Boy, stop.
Bro, this is
No.
this movie, bro. Come on, man.
You are not.
Hey, look. Hey,
You
look.
sit there and watch it
You would have
just
bought.
because you want to see. how
So
they do it.
you saying, Drew? So you saying, Drew, that they go if the movie came back on again, you wouldn't be in the kitchen cooking. You go sit down and want to watch it.
I'm sitting there watching just to see what. Yes,
But you would have dropped a 20
I
and
would do it.
Ooh,
I would do it.
if that's
I
the
would do it.
definition, I got to drop to a C, brother. This gonna have to be in the background. It's gonna have to be in the background for me.
Y'all are
I'm sorry,
clowning.
man. I'm
wouldn't say
sorry.
the
Y'all are
movies.
clowning.
Oh,
Yeah.
Y'all moving
I'm
stuff.
cutting onions while looking at this.
That's dumpster juice. Oh my god! What?
The fact, so that's the thing. Like, if you're not picking, if you're not trying to watch this to like see all the little subtleties that they put in the first 30
Yeah,
to
I see
45
the
minutes.
subtleties.
There's
I see the subtleties.
there's
It's
plenty of
okay.
other movies that I can have in the background instead of the main. There's plenty of those.
If it
The
helps
main
any,
it's not one of those.
if it helps any, I wouldn't have Eternals on period.
Exactly. I
So-
wouldn't have that on period.
Hey, look. Well,
Like
look.
I can watch John Wick again. I don't
Oh,
care
yeah,
what.
that's
I
a great
can
movie.
Anytime.
I can watch
Anytime.
them. I can sit and watch it again.
But this ain't
There's
John
plenty
Wick.
of other
This ain't
movies.
Baba Yaga.
There's thousands of other movies that
This ain't
literally
Baba Yaga.
can take them. Oh no.
Well, look, y'all heard it here first. BYKE85. Look, if y'all enjoyed our little rant on this movie, please be sure to stop
That's crazy.
and leave a like down below. Subscribe. It's free. It's free. So yeah, man.
Just like
We'll,
eating is
we'll
free.
yeah. Free
What did
your
y'all talk
mind.
about already? What did y'all talk about already?
That was it.
That was it.
That
That's what
was
we
it,
talked
man.
That was
about.
it? Oh,
End
okay.
the
First
video,
one.
man. Hey, we'll see y'all in the next one. Deuces.